He was offered $1 million for one night, but his answer changed everything. The towel was still half folded in Nathan's calloused hands when her words fell into the warm, eucalyptus-scented air, quiet, deliberate, and impossible to ignore. $1 million. Just one night. No touching. No intimacy. Just stay so I can sleep. He looked up, his hand stilling on the fabric. She stood like a painting that didn't belong on these modest beige walls, her silhouette framed in soft amber light, her silk dress charcoal and without a single crease. She didn't fidget. She didn't blink. She didn't beg. But her voice trembled at the edges, as if holding back a lifetime. Nathan straightened, his expression calm, centered, as if he'd had to steady himself through harder storms. "I'm sorry," he said, each word like a scalpel, clean and precise. "I don't sell my presence. Not for any price." She didn't recoil. She didn't bristle. She only paused, as though someone had just spoken to her in a language she hadn't heard since childhood. There was no recognition in Nathan's eyes. He didn't know he was looking at Evelyn Black, powerhouse CEO of Blackwell Holdings, a woman who could move markets with a nod and silence senators with a single line of text. But even if he had known, it wouldn't have changed the way he looked at her. She tilted her head slightly, her voice as crisp and effortless as ice dropped into a crystal glass. "Do you know who I am?" Nathan shrugged. "I assume a client." "You're not curious?" He smiled faintly. "Curiosity doesn't pay my rent." She exhaled, half laugh, half disbelief. $1 million is a lot of money for someone like you." He nodded, not insulted, not defensive. "It is." Their eyes locked, hers a storm of exhaustion and ice. His, calm waters that didn't flinch. "But I need my daughter to know what kind of man her father is," he said softly. "More than I need another zero in my bank account." The silence thickened, not empty but full, brimming with things left unspoken. She scanned the humble treatment room, the cracked wood cabinet, the simple steamer releasing hints of eucalyptus into the air. Nothing about this space was luxurious. Nothing was curated. But everything was real. "You think I made that offer because I'm desperate for a man?" she asked, a blade thin smirk touching her lips. "No," Nathan said, resuming the fold in his towel with the care of a man who had folded thousands. "I think you're desperate for rest, and for someone you don't have to pretend in front of." For a moment, she didn't answer, but then, almost amused, "You're interesting." He moved to the door and opened it, his voice soft, firm, unshakable. "I'm not taking your money, but if you really need a quiet night, the lounge out front's open till 11. Sofa's free." She didn't move, standing there like a queen deciding whether to descend from her throne. Then she looked down at her phone. "I'll stay." He nodded, unfazed. "Okay," and gently closed the door behind her. 15 minutes later, Nathan stepped out from the back office. She hadn't left. There she was, still as glass, perched on the edge of the sofa, posture regal, eyes fixed on the empty parking lot outside. No phone in hand, no laptop, no mask. When he passed, her voice, low and curious, stopped him. "What kind of woman do you think I am?" He turned. "I don't." She tilted her head, a bit caught off guard. "I mean," he added, "it only takes 5 seconds to label someone, but it takes a lifetime to realize you were wrong." She let out a dry, brittle laugh. "I've spent 12 years convincing the world I'm not fragile, and I still can't sleep through a single night." Nathan didn't probe, didn't offer cliches or prescriptions. He just nodded. "Then I understand why you'd offer $1 million for peace." "You mocking me?" "No," he said simply. "I mean that. Some of the things we need most can't be bought." Her gaze softened, and for the first time in what felt like forever, Evelyn Black felt something inside her uncoil, not from fear or guilt, but from recognition. He wasn't afraid of her. He wasn't performing. He wasn't impressed. Near midnight, he came out to lock up. She was still there, curled into a corner of the sofa, breathing softly. One hand draped across her stomach. Her shoes kicked off. She looked not like a tycoon, but like a child, lost in a world that never lowered its volume. He fetched a blanket and gently laid it across her. But as he turned to go, her eyes fluttered open. "Do you think I'm a terrible person?" Her voice was a whisper in the dark. He sat across from her, not too close. "I think you're searching for something you lost. And when people don't know how to ask for help, they offer what they have." She studied him. "If I had no money, would you have stayed?" "If you had no money," he said, "maybe we would have talked. As two people, not a buyer and a price tag." Evelyn turned away, but something in her face cracked, just a little. A soft smile, faint but real. That night, she slept. Not because of the sofa, not because of the scent in the air, but because, for the first time in over a decade, someone stayed, and asked for nothing. The morning after, Evelyn Black sat in her high-rise penthouse, untouched croissant on her plate, coffee cold. The skyline stretched in front of her, 1,000 glittering towers she'd helped build. But her mind wasn't there. It was with a man in a gray polo folding towels, like the world owed him nothing. He'd said no. Just like that. No one said no to her. Not the press. Not her fiancé. Not the senators she brought down. But he had. And then, he offered her a blanket. She hadn't stopped thinking about it since. "Miss Black," her assistant Julia appeared. "You're 10 a.m. with the Shanghai delegation. Start without me." "But," I said later, Julia. Evelyn opened her phone. River Wellness Spa. Her finger hovered above the number, then stopped. No, that was too obvious. She needed a reason. A real one. 10 minutes later, she was in the back seat of her Escalade. Sunglasses on. Voice curt. "Take me to River Wellness. No security. No press. I don't want anyone to know." Nathan was restocking fresh sheets when he heard the bell. He didn't look up. He didn't need to. Her presence filled the room before her feet did. "Same service as last time?" he asked without turning. No, her voice was quieter now, deliberate. "Today, I just want to talk." He looked up. She wore jeans, a soft cream blouse, hair down, makeup lighter. Less armor. More human. "I don't talk during sessions," he said. "I don't want a session." He gestured to 2 chairs near the window. She sat, hands folded, back straight, like someone on trial. "I don't do this," she confessed. "Offer money. Talk to strangers I don't understand." "You didn't take the money," she continued. "You gave me principle. I want to understand the reason." Nathan leaned back, eyes quiet. "Because I know what it feels like to be bought. And I promised myself my daughter would never see me like that again." Her breath caught. Then she said, almost to herself, "My father used to say money isn't love, but it'll make people act like it is." "That's not love," Nathan replied. "That's performance." "Maybe I've been performing so long," she said. "I forgot who I was offstage." Nathan looked straight through her. There's still someone real in there. She's just scared of being seen. She exhaled, deep and unguarded. "Do people like me deserve peace?" "I think everyone does," he said. "The question is, what are you willing to give up to find it?" She was silent for a long time. "You think I'm broken?" "No," Nathan replied. "I think you've been cracked open. And maybe that's where light gets in." Evelyn rose, slower now. "Do you believe in second chances?" "I believe in people who earn them." She hesitated. Dinner. No expectations. No offers. Just real. He didn't answer right away. Then looked down at the folded sheets in his hands. "I'm not your project." "I know. And I'm not your escape." "You're not." "Then why?" Her voice softened. "Because you're the first person who's made me feel like I don't have to buy my worth." Nathan blinked, then set the sheets down. Tomorrow. 6. Somewhere with good pie. She smiled, really smiled. You like pie? I like remembering who I used to be. She turned to go, but paused. Nathan. He looked up. Thank you for saying no. He tilted his head. Most people aren't grateful when I do. I'm not most people. He smirked. I'm starting to see that. And for the first time in years, Evelyn Black didn't feel like she was falling. She felt like she was finally landing. The next morning, the bell chimed again. Nathan looked up. She stood in the doorway, light behind her, hair twisted up, white shirt, dark jeans. This time she wasn't alone. A small girl peeked out from behind her, clutching a plush toy in one hand, and Evelyn's hand in the other. Nathan raised a brow. You brought backup. Evelyn chuckled. This is Mia. Not mine. My friend Sandra had an emergency. I offered to help. Nathan smiled. Sandra trusts you with her kid. She trusts I don't talk much, and that I always carry snacks. The little girl stepped forward. Pink sneakers, a rocket t-shirt, eyes full of wonder. You're the man who didn't take the money, she said bluntly. Nathan blinked. Excuse me. Mia shrugged. I heard Aunt Sandra. She said you were brave. That most grown-ups forget how to be. Evelyn looked away. Mia pressed on. Are you really a superhero? Nathan knelt to her level. No cape. No powers. Just good hands, I guess. She grinned and held out her plush bear. This is Astronaut Bear. He likes people who tell the truth. Nathan shook the toy's paw. Then I'm honored. Evelyn watched them quietly. Her chest ached. The way Nathan spoke to Mia, no performance. No facade. Just presence. And maybe, just maybe, she didn't need to buy peace anymore. Maybe it had been waiting all along. In a place that asked for nothing, but gave everything. She sat by the window, quiet and composed, the light from the spa's soft lamps casting a warm glow over her features. I don't want to interrupt, she said gently. You're not, Nathan replied, his voice calm as still water. In fact, you might enjoy this. 10 minutes later, little Mia lay giggling on a yoga mat in the back room, her tiny body twisted in a playful pose as Nathan demonstrated basic stretches with exaggerated motions and silly sound effects. From a short distance, Evelyn sat cradling a paper cup of herbal tea, watching, not as the CEO of a corporate empire, but as a woman seeing something rare, joy that asked for nothing in return. She should have been answering board messages, clearing notifications, checking on overseas stocks. But for once, none of that mattered. What caught her attention wasn't a quarterly report or a market alert. It was the sound of a child's laughter, and a man who had once said no to $1 million, now making a little girl feel like the most important person in the world. Hey, Nathan, Mia said between giggles. Why don't you work at a big company if you're so smart? Evelyn sat up a little straighter. Nathan paused, smiling. Because I like seeing the sky when I leave work, and because sometimes peace is worth more than prestige. Mia tilted her head, frowning. What's prestige? Nathan grinned. A fancy way of saying other people think you're important. But you are important. Astronaut Bear says so. He let out a soft chuckle. He sounds wise. Evelyn's voice surprised even herself. He is. Their eyes met, and for the first time since their charged conversation 2 days earlier, the space between them wasn't laced with tension. It was still, quiet, real. You're good with her, Evelyn said. Nathan's voice was low, thoughtful. Kids don't play games. They ask what they mean and say what they feel. There's honesty in that. You think adults lose that? I think most of us trade it. For titles, for fear, for armor. Evelyn looked at Mia, then back at Nathan. I used to know that kind of honesty before everything got expensive. Nathan's gaze held hers. Maybe it's time to renegotiate. She exhaled slowly, her breath catching on unspoken truths. You talk like someone who used to live a very different life. I did, he said simply. He didn't elaborate. She didn't press. Later, while Mia lay on the floor with crayons scattered around her like spilled dreams, Evelyn approached the front desk, where Nathan was sorting paperwork. "Why do you do this?" she asked. "This life." He paused for a moment, then answered, "Because it doesn't lie to me." She raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "When I work on someone's back," he explained, "I can feel their truth. I feel where the pain lives, where the weight settles. And sometimes, I can help lift it. That's honest work." He paused, his voice softer. "I didn't always do honest work." She stepped in closer, her voice a whisper now. "Tell me something honestly. If I hadn't been who I am, would you have treated me differently?" Nathan met her gaze without flinching. "No, but you would have treated yourself differently." That stopped her cold. "What do you mean?" "Sometimes," he said slowly, "the richest people are the loneliest, because they start believing the money is them. And when someone looks past the wealth, it scares them." Evelyn swallowed, her throat suddenly tight. "And you look past it." He gave a small, gentle smile. "I saw a woman who couldn't sleep. That's a kind of pain I understand." Just then, Mia bounded over, arms full of brightly scribbled papers. "I made this for you," she announced, thrusting a crayon-colored page into Nathan's hands. It was filled with stick figures and crooked hearts, messy and pure. Nathan knelt and accepted it like it was a priceless painting. "Thank you, Mia. I'll hang it on the wall." Mia turned to Evelyn, her voice solemn. "He's not a superhero, but he's what superheroes wish they could be." Evelyn blinked, stunned. "Why do you say that?" "Because he helps people feel better. And he doesn't even have to punch anything." Nathan laughed, and Evelyn found herself laughing too. Not the polished, boardroom laugh she'd perfected over the years. This one was unguarded, unfiltered. That night, Evelyn stood at her penthouse window. The city glittered below, but for once, she didn't feel lost in its cold shine. She thought of a girl with wild curls and a stuffed bear. She thought of a man who folded towels like he was folding moments. And for the first time in a long, long time, she didn't feel tired. She felt awake. Nathan arrived 15 minutes early at the little diner, tucked at the edge of town. The scent of syrup and old coffee hung in the air. The kind of place where the booths had stories in their torn leather and where time seemed to slow just enough for real conversation. He chose a window booth, nursing a mug of black coffee as twilight painted the sky in violet hues. At exactly 6 o'clock, she walked in, but not like Evelyn Black, the billionaire titan. She came in like a woman shedding armor, dressed in jeans, a soft green sweater, flats. No jewelry, no pretense. Just her. Nathan stood. "You found it. You said had good pie." She smiled. "I keep my promises." They sat. A quiet moment passed, awkward, but only because it was new. Like the first words on a blank page. "I haven't been in a place like this in years," she said, eyeing the laminated menu. No prefix. No pairings. Just choices. "That's the point." "Of what?" "Of life. You don't get peace by controlling everything. You get it by choosing what really matters." She nodded, eyes drifting to the dessert section. "Cherry or peach?" "Depends. You want sweet or true?" She raised a brow. "Cherry's sweeter?" "No. Peach is honest. It's messy. A little tart, but worth it. Like most things that last." She laughed, surprised by it. Life advice through pie. Nathan shrugged. Pie never lies. They ordered meatloaf for him, grilled cheese for her, and 2 slices of peach pie. "So," she said once the waitress left, "what made you leave corporate life?" Nathan traced the edge of his mug. "I was making 6 figures. Had a corner office. People returned my calls within 5 minutes. And I couldn't look my daughter in the eye without feeling like I was vanishing. Evelyn's smile faded. She was 3 when her mom left, he said. Told me I wasn't ambitious enough. Said she wanted more. More what? Evelyn whispered. Shiny things. Rooms that didn't matter. She nodded, fingers on her glass. So you left. I did. Sold the car. Took a smaller apartment. Built a spa from scratch. It doesn't impress anyone at fundraisers. But my daughter sleeps in a bed I made with my own hands. That matters more than any bonus I ever got. Evelyn's voice was soft. That's not small, Nathan. That's everything. He looked at her. What about you? What broke you open? She inhaled slowly. My father. Brilliant. Cold. He taught me that vulnerability was weakness. Love a distraction. When I turned 22, he handed me the company and said, if you fail, you'll do it alone. If you win, don't expect applause. Nathan's jaw clenched. That's not parenting. That's grooming. I know, she whispered. And it worked. I became the ice queen he wanted. And when he died, I didn't know how to mourn a man I spent my whole life trying to impress. There was silence, but this time, it held reverence. I spent 10 years proving I didn't need anyone, she continued. And now, I don't even know what I'd do if I stopped running. Nathan leaned in, voice tender. You'd rest, and then maybe you'd begin. Her hands trembled. He didn't reach for them, but he was there, grounded and present. No one ever told me I was enough, she said. Then let me be the first, Nathan said. You don't have to earn your right to breathe. You already do. The pie arrived. Sweet, tart, perfect. They shared it quietly, not alone, just together. When the plates were cleared, Evelyn leaned back. Why did you say yes to dinner? Nathan thought. Because that night you showed up asking for peace, not power. And I thought maybe that version of you deserved a chance. And if I mess it up, then you try again. That's what real people do. She smiled. And the pie, still honest, still messy, still worth it. They left together. The air outside crisp and clean. Evelyn looked up. I forgot the sky could be this quiet, she said. Nathan smiled. It's been here the whole time. You just had to stop running long enough to notice. Rain kissed the windows of Nathan's small home. Inside, the scent of cinnamon and old wood wrapped around Evelyn like a forgotten lullaby. She stood by a shelf, fingertips brushing the spines of well-loved books. You've read all these? Nathan handed her a mug of tea. Some are for me. Some are for Lily. Some are for the days that feel too quiet. She smiled. I didn't peg you as a tea guy. I'm not. But whiskey doesn't always heal the way people think it does. She sat on the sofa. You really built this place. Took 3 years. Some days with a hammer. Some days with prayers. You pray. Not always with words. The quiet wrapped around him. Do you ever miss it? She asked. The money, he said. She nodded. I miss not worrying about groceries. But I don't miss what it cost me. What did it cost? He met her gaze. My reflection. She stilled. That's the line no one talks about, isn't it? She whispered. The one you cross when you stop recognizing who you've become. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. A small knock echoed down the hall. Then a voice. Dad, come on out, baby. Lily padded in, barefoot in pajamas, holding a bunny. I had a weird dream, she mumbled. What kind? Evelyn asked softly. You were there, Lily said. We were on a boat. You had a sword. You saved Dad from a sea monster. Evelyn blinked. Nathan laughed. Told you you had a hero in you. Lily nodded. Are you staying here now? Evelyn hesitated. I'm just visiting. But maybe I'll come again if that's okay. Lily yawned. Okay, but next time bring your sword. I'll remember. Nathan kissed Lily's head. Wanted to walk you back. She shook her head. Just stay here for a minute. So he did. Evelyn watched them, her heart shifting in ways she didn't yet have words for. For the first time in years, she felt like she had finally come home. She didn't have a name for the feeling. It wasn't power. It wasn't prestige. It wasn't the kind of fleeting comfort found in penthouse suites or private island resorts. No, this was something else entirely. Something that wrapped itself around her chest, not like armor, but like an embrace. It was quiet, earned. It had grown in the small, unspoken gestures, like a child's fingers curling into hers, or the warmth of a kitchen steeped in cinnamon and silence. Later that evening, after Lily had drifted back into dreams beneath a blanket sewn with stars, Nathan returned to the living room. Evelyn sat alone, her gaze lost in the hypnotic dance of the fire. He settled beside her, close, but respectfully apart. "She's amazing," Evelyn murmured, her voice soft. "She's the reason I keep waking up," Nathan replied, "even on the mornings when I don't want to." Evelyn turned toward him, the flames casting flecks of gold in her eyes. "Do you think people like me can still be good parents?" Nathan didn't flinch. "Being a good parent doesn't mean never failing," he said. "It means choosing to show up again after you do." Her throat tightened. "I had a miscarriage years ago. I never told anyone, not even the father." Nathan said nothing. The silence held her gently, doing what words often could not. "I buried the idea of motherhood so deep," she whispered. "I forgot where I put it. But then I saw you with her, and I started to wonder what kind of person I might have become if I'd known love like that." He turned to her, voice low and steady. "You still can." She looked at him as if daring herself to believe. "You're saying I could start again?" "I'm saying," he answered, "the best stories don't begin until the second act." Her breath shuddered, and then a single tear slid down her cheek. She didn't wipe it away. Nathan didn't try to fix it. He simply reached out, quietly, reverently, and offered his hand. She took it, not for romance, but for something deeper, acknowledgement. A miracle, quiet and unadorned, in the shape of a child who dreamed of sea monsters, and a man who folded towels, with the care of someone healing more than just muscles. Outside, the rain kept falling, but inside, something new had begun to rise. When Evelyn returned to her penthouse, something felt off, not in the crisis mode way she was used to. No press leaks or boardroom scandals. No, this was more intimate, subtle, like stepping into old shoes and realizing, for the first time, they no longer fit. She stood barefoot in the center of her immaculate living room. Towering windows displayed the entire glittering city below, like a conquest. But tonight, the skyline looked irrelevant. For the first time, she saw it all and thought, "This doesn't feel like home." Her phone buzzed. "Unknown number asterisk asterisk heard you've been slumming it in massage parlors, Evelyn. You always did have curious taste. Asterisk, see." She didn't need the signature. Charles, the man who once toasted her in candlelit ballrooms and betrayed her behind boardroom doors. The man who whispered devotion while slipping prenups into his drawer. He hadn't changed. She ignored the message. 3 days passed. Nathan didn't call. She didn't either. Yet the silence between them didn't feel like absence. It felt like patience. On the 4th day, Evelyn found herself once again outside the River Wellness Spa. She hadn't planned it. Her driver had taken a wrong turn, and suddenly there it was. The familiar blue door, its faded sign worn by rain and time, and the scent of eucalyptus drifting out like memory. She stepped inside. The receptionist smiled. "Can I help you?" "Tell Nathan. I'm here." The woman blinked. "He's with a client at the moment." "I'll wait." 20 minutes later, Nathan emerged from the back hallway, his sleeves damp, a towel draped over one shoulder. He froze. "You came back," he said, tone unreadable. "I didn't realize you had a clearance list for who's allowed through the door." she replied, sharper than she meant. Nathan studied her. What's wrong? She opened her mouth, closed it. Finally, she whispered, I think I forgot who I am. He motioned toward the quiet consultation room. Come sit. They entered, no music, no candles. Just 2 chairs, a desk, and a room full of unsaid truths. She sat. I got a text from Charles, she began. He knows I've been coming here. He knows about you. Nathan didn't flinch. He's planning something. I feel it. And I don't even know what I want you to do about it. Yes, you do, he said gently. She stared at him. You came because someone saw you. Not your headlines, not your armor. And you didn't want to lose that. Her voice cracked. But I don't know how to keep it. Start, he said, by telling the truth. She hesitated, then exhaled, slow, fragile. I built this life from ashes. I watched men who claimed to mentor me try to sabotage me. I dated men who loved my power more than my soul. I walked into rooms where no one expected me to speak, so I learned to speak louder than anyone. I became unbreakable. She paused, and then you looked at me like I didn't have to be. You don't. But what if I forget again? She asked. What if the version of me you're beginning to care about disappears? Then I'll remind you, he said softly, as many times as it takes. Just then her phone buzzed again. A photo. Her standing outside the spa. The caption, asterisk, what would your board say if they knew the queen of acquisitions was being massaged by the help? Asterisk. Her stomach turned. Nathan saw the color drain from her face. What is it? She showed him the screen. He read it once, then again. Finally, he said, Do you want to leave before this gets ugly? She stood, paced, then stopped abruptly. No, she said firm. I'm not running. Nathan raised an eyebrow. That's not the Evelyn I met. No, it's the one I used to be. But this time, I'm staying. Not to protect a brand. Not to outmaneuver the press. I'm staying because I'm tired of living a life I have to keep explaining. Nathan smiled, quiet and sure. Now that sounds like the real you. She nodded. So what do we do? I make dinner, he said. You help. That night in Nathan's kitchen, Evelyn chopped onions while he stirred pasta and seasoned chicken. There was no music, just the soft rhythm of a life not curated, but real. I haven't cooked with someone since college, she said, eye stinging. Good, he replied. You're long overdue. You sure about this? Being involved with me could get complicated. Nathan looked at her, serious. Peace isn't about avoiding complications. It's about knowing what's worth the mess. She looked down. And I'm worth it. He didn't answer with words. He reached over, wiped a single tear from the corner of her eye, and whispered, You were always worth it. You just forgot. And as the sauce simmered and their laughter echoed through the kitchen like wind through an open window, Evelyn felt something in her chest finally unclench. Not because the threat was gone, but because she didn't have to face it alone. The knock came just after midnight. It was firm, deliberate, not the kind of knock meant for casual conversation. Nathan dried his hands on the towel over his shoulder and looked toward the door. Evelyn was still seated at the table, barefoot, wrapped in silence. Expecting someone, he asked. She shook her head. No, but I think I know who it is. Nathan moved instinctively, placing his body slightly between her and the door. Then he opened it. Charles. Rain streaked his coat. His hair was immaculately slicked, too perfect for a man caught in a storm. Well, Charles said, flashing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. So this is where the queen has been hiding. Evelyn stepped forward, voice calm and cold. What are you doing here? I came to talk, he said, glancing at Nathan. Though I see you're busy. Nathan's jaw tightened. You're on private property. Charles smiled like a man who had never been denied anything. Relax. I'm just here to deliver a little reality check. Evelyn folded her arms. Then deliver it, and leave. He strolled through the living room, eyes trailing judgment. You know, for someone who used to run billion-dollar buyouts, you've become quite the cliché. Hiding in a house with no doorman, falling for the help. You always mistook power for insulation, Evelyn said. That's why you never had any of your own. Charles turned, smirking. I sent that photo to one board member. Just a whisper. And already, the panic's spreading. A vote's being scheduled. Your CO title's on thin ice. Investors are rattled. Your past is being picked apart. Nathan's voice cut in, quiet, razor-sharp. Then why are you here? Charles looked at him. Because I wanted her to know who lit the match. Evelyn stepped forward, closer. Her voice was a blade now. I made a mistake. I mistook your ambition for passion. But this is just petty. Charles sneered. You don't get to rewrite the story now. No, she said. But I get to decide how it ends. She opened the door. Goodbye, Charles. He hesitated, waiting for something, anything, to break her. But nothing came. So he left. Nathan locked the door with a soft click that echoed like thunder. You okay? He asked. Evelyn nodded. No, but I will be. She walked to the window, watching the rain blur the lights. I always knew it could come to this, she whispered. You don't rise that far without making enemies. I just thought I'd be ready. Nathan stood beside her. Being ready doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. You should stay away. This isn't your war. He shook his head. It is now. Her breath caught. Why? Because I'm tired of watching good people stand alone. You think I'm good? I think you're trying to be. That's all any of us can do. She turned to face him. And if I lose everything? Then, he said, gently taking her hand, we'll build something better. The next morning, Evelyn entered her office like a force of nature. The same boardroom that once echoed her voice now hummed with whispered betrayal. She ignored it. Later that day, a press conference was called. Damage control? Nathan had asked, pouring her coffee. No, she said. Truth. She stood at the podium. No cards. No rehearsed lines. Just her. I've built a legacy defined by numbers, performance, and perception, she began. But behind every headline is a human being, one who doesn't always get it right. Gasps. Flashbulbs. Whispered notes. A relationship of mine was made public. I won't deny it. I won't apologize. Because for the first time in a long time, I've found something more valuable than control. She looked straight into the camera. I've found peace. A hush fell over the room. I'm not stepping down. I'm not stepping back. And if anyone believes my personal life is a liability, then maybe it's time we redefine what strength in leadership looks like. And in that moment, Evelyn Black didn't just protect her legacy. She rewrote it. She stepped down from the podium into a silence so complete it hummed in her ears, a stillness that held its breath. Then, one solitary clap broke through the hush. Another followed. Then another, until the room swelled with applause, no longer polite, but thunderous earned. That night, she returned to Nathan's quiet home, where love did not need to be spoken to be felt. She found him in Lily's room, reading softly by lamplight. The little girl's breaths had already deepened into sleep. Shout, Evelyn asked from the doorway, her voice a low murmur of warmth. Nathan nodded, placing the book on the nightstand. Out like a light. He stood, brushing the quiet from his shoulders. How was the speech? He asked gently. I said what I meant, she replied. Then you won. She looked around the modest room with its scattered crayons and soft shadows, then back at him. You were right. Peace isn't the absence of conflict. It's knowing what's worth the fight. Nathan stepped closer, hesitating only to honor the moment's weight. And I want to fight, she said. For this. For us. for the version of me that only exists when I'm with you." He didn't reply with words. Instead, he folded her into his arms, and for the first time in her long, glittering, high-wire life, Evelyn Black allowed herself to be held, not as an icon, not as a brand, but as a woman who had finally found her way home. She stood at the edge of the ballroom like a ghost who had once haunted the very room. Her gown shimmered like spilled midnight beneath the chandeliers. Around her, the city's elite swirled in a glittering illusion, dancing, drinking, laughing. The sound of glass kissing glass rang out like hollow promises. And for the first time, she no longer needed to belong. The realization once would have frightened her. Tonight it set her free. "Feeling nervous?" Nathan's voice came from behind her, a warm tether to the ground. She turned slightly, catching his reflection in the mirrored wall. Black suit, no tie, hands in pockets. He looked timeless, steady, like he was built for standing between chaos and calm. "Not nervous," she said. "Just aware." "Of what?" "That I used to think these rooms meant something. That if I could own them, I'd finally be safe. But now all I see are people trying to disappear behind champagne and Italian leather shoes." Nathan stepped beside her, his presence grounding. It's easy to mistake applause for acceptance. She gave a faint smile, especially when applause is all you've ever chased. A man approached, sleek gray suit, perfect smirk. Maxwell Grayson, board member, loyal to Charles to a fault. "Ms. Black," he said smoothly. "Or should I say, Ms. Rebrand." "Good evening, Maxwell," she replied evenly. "I saw your little speech. Very compelling. A bit sentimental for a woman who once called emotions a stock liability." "People change," she said, cool but unashamed. "Even CEOs." His smile faltered. "Don't get too comfortable. There are whispers. Your spa romance is dragging down company valuation." Nathan stepped forward. His voice was calm, but it didn't bend. "Then maybe valuation needs to evolve. Maybe it should reflect leadership with a soul." Maxwell scoffed. "And you are someone who doesn't need a name tag to know who he is." Maxwell's jaw tightened. He turned and walked away without another word. Evelyn let out a breath like she'd been holding it for years. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did," Nathan said. "Because sometimes the only way to protect what's real is to stare down what isn't." The evening continued, polished on the surface, but hollow beneath. Flattery disguised as friendliness. Smiles with knives behind them. Evelyn moved with grace, but her heart no longer played the part. Later, she slipped away to the rooftop terrace. The city stretched beneath her, restless and blinking. Lights like tired eyes that refused to sleep. Nathan joined her, offering a glass of water. "You've been out here a while." "I needed air. You needed truth." She turned to him. "I keep thinking about my mother." He waited. "She used to come to events like this with my father. Always wore blue. Always stood 2 steps behind him. Perfect posture. Perfect silence. She never spoke unless spoken to." "That's how your father wanted it," Nathan said softly. "No," she whispered. "That's how she survived." He touched her hand, anchoring her. "And how did you survive?" "I chose the opposite. I spoke louder, stood taller, made men uncomfortable on purpose. I became the kind of woman my mother never had the freedom to be." Nathan's voice was low. "And now, I'm learning that strength isn't about never needing anyone. It's about knowing who's worth needing." A beat of silence passed. "You're not your father," Nathan said. "You're not your past. You're the one who gets to write the next chapter." "But what if I don't know how?" He turned to her fully. "Then we write it together." Her breath hitched. "I'm scared." "Good. Fear means you're on the edge of something real." Her phone buzzed in her clutch. "Charles," she said. "I won't answer." "Don't." But he sent a file. Nathan watched as she opened it. Her expression froze. then darkened. She handed him the phone. He's trying to leak fake financial records. Claims I paid off settlements related to toxic workplace culture. They're forged, but plausible enough to do damage. Nathan read the documents slowly. This could ruin you. I know. It's not about truth to him. It's about control. I stopped playing his game, and now he's burning the board. Nathan met her eyes. Then let's build a new board, with our own rules. Back at Nathan's house that night, Evelyn paced the living room while Lily slept peacefully in the next room, unaware of the war outside those walls. He wants to break me, Evelyn said, her voice cracked with weariness. He doesn't need the truth, just the illusion of power. Nathan sat quietly on the couch. You told me once you used to measure your worth by how many rooms you could own. Maybe it's time to measure it by how many people you can inspire. She stopped pacing. You think I should go public? I think you should tell your story before someone else profits from your silence. She sank beside him. But what if they believe him? Then show them something better to believe in. The next morning, Evelyn sat on Nathan's porch. No cameras, no handlers, just her, just truth. She recorded a video. I used to think strength meant never flinching, never folding. But I've learned that true strength is transparency. And healing isn't weakness, it's rebellion in a world that profits from your brokenness. The video exploded across the internet. By noon, messages flooded in from CEOs, single parents, survivors, silent leaders who finally felt seen. By evening, the board vote was canceled. That night, Evelyn tucked Lily into bed. Do you want me to read you a story? She asked. Lily nodded. The one where the girl finds her voice. Evelyn smiled. That's my favorite, too. She read softly as Lily's eyelids fluttered. After closing the book, she sat in the hush, her soul settling. Nathan joined her in the hallway. She asks for that story almost every night, he said. She knows what it feels like to fight for your voice. Evelyn looked at him. So do I. And for the first time, she realized she hadn't just defended her title. She had reclaimed her story. The first snowfall of the season came early. Evelyn stood by Nathan's window, watching as flakes drifted like whispered prayers. Lily pressed her small hands to the cold glass. It looks like powdered sugar, she giggled. Nathan knelt beside her. Only if powdered sugar could cover up old mistakes. Evelyn smiled, but her eyes were distant, remembering. Later, after Lily had been wrapped in extra quilts and kissed goodnight, Evelyn and Nathan sat on the leather couch in silence. Between them sat a box, small, aged. Inside, her past. She lifted the lid. A velvet pouch with a diamond necklace. Handwritten letters from her late father, unopened. A photo of her and Charles, arms linked, smiles rehearsed. She held the photo, then tore it in half. Nathan didn't speak, just reached into the box and pulled out an old newspaper clipping. Asterisk youngest woman to lead a Fortune 100 company. Evelyn Black breaks the ceiling starter. I remember this, he said. You looked unstoppable. I was, she whispered, but not unbreakable. After her father died, she inherited more than a company. She inherited enemies, secrets, and a legacy she never asked for. Why keep the letters? Nathan asked. I need to know if he ever saw me. Me, not just the version he was trying to manufacture. She opened the first one, her hands trembling. Evelyn, it began. Asterisk, you scare me, in the best way. You remind me of your mother. Quiet when it matters. Fierce when it counts. I wish I'd known how to love you better instead of preparing you for war. Asterisk. Tears slipped down her cheeks as she read. Letter after letter. The voice on the page softened, from strategist to father, from mentor to man asking forgiveness. When she was done, she sat in a silence braided with grief and grace. You don't have to carry it all anymore, Nathan whispered. She looked up. I don't want to be CEO forever. He blinked. Really? I want to mentor someone, build something quieter, something real, something that doesn't need the spotlight to matter. Nathan smiled. That's the first time you've talked about the future without apologizing. She blinked. Is it? It is, he said. And I think that means you're healing. Days later, Evelyn invited her board to dinner. No photographers, no press kits, just home-cooked lasagna and space to speak. Simone, the youngest member, asked, "Why here? Why now?" Evelyn raised her glass. "Because for too long, I believed leadership meant distance. Now I believe it means connection, transparency, empathy." Mr. Patel, the oldest, nodded. "It's about time someone said that." Another board member smiled. "You've changed." "No," Evelyn replied. "I've come home to myself." The table fell silent, not with discomfort, but with respect. For the first time in her career, Evelyn wasn't performing. She was simply being. Later, Nathan met her on the balcony. "How'd it go?" "I think they saw me. Not the brand. Me." He wrapped his arms around her. "I like you." She chuckled, then grew still. "I'm scared of what comes next. I've never lived a life that wasn't built on conquest." He turned her gently. "Then maybe it's time to build one on love." She stared at him, and for a moment the whole world softened, not with spectacle, but with sincerity. That weekend, Nathan took Evelyn and Lily to a winter market. Just cocoa, carols, handmade ornaments. It was simple, but it was bigger than any gala she'd ever attended. Lily tugged her hand. "Can we get one of these?" She pointed to a crooked ceramic ornament shaped like a heart. Evelyn knelt. "Of course." And with that one small moment, Evelyn Black, once the queen of glass towers, chose a different crown. One made not of diamonds, but of belonging. "What do you want to write on it?" Nathan asked, crouched beside the table strewn with glitter and glue. Lily tapped her marker against her chin, eyes sparkling with thought. Then, like a sunrise blooming behind her smile, she said, "Us." Evelyn's breath caught. Her eyes softened, and something warm and unexpected surged through her chest, something she hadn't felt in years. Belonging. That evening, back at Nathan's cozy home, Evelyn carefully placed the hand-painted ornament on the tiny pine tree standing proudly by the fireplace. The branches trembled ever so slightly, as if touched by something sacred. Beside the ornament, she placed something else, a letter. Her father's letter. Not as an anchor to the past, but as a gentle tribute. She was ready to honor it, and finally, let it rest. "Are you okay?" Nathan asked, his voice a gentle tether, his presence calm and close. "I think," she whispered, "I'm finally more than okay." He stepped forward, brushing a curl from her cheek. The same woman who once ran boardrooms with ruthless precision. Evelyn Black, brilliant, bold, and sometimes terrifying, now stood quietly wrapped in something far stronger than armor. "What do you want now?" he asked. She laughed, low and true. "Peace. Purpose. Maybe even to read bedtime stories." He raised an amused eyebrow. "That's a bold life plan." She leaned in, close enough to steal warmth from his breath. "I've lived bold," she murmured. "Now I want to live honest." And just like that, the woman who'd once commanded empires allowed herself to melt into the arms of a man who had never needed her to be anything more than exactly who she was. As snow danced silently against the window panes, Evelyn whispered something even softer than snowfall. "Thank you for seeing me." Nathan pulled her tighter, voice quiet but certain. "I never stopped." It was a Tuesday morning when the phone rang, a call that once would have made her pulse race with ambition. But this time, Evelyn didn't leap. She simply sat very still. "Miss Black," said the voice on the other end, crisp and corporate, "we'd like to offer you the role of chairwoman for our new international initiative. Unlimited resources, global reach, full autonomy." There was a pause, and then the clincher. a compensation package unlike anything you've received before. Evelyn stared into the swirl of her espresso, the steam rising like a question she no longer needed to answer. "I appreciate the offer," she said, her voice calm and clear, "but I'm not accepting." A chuckle on the other end, confused. "Excuse me." I said no, respectfully. "But this is the role people spend their entire careers chasing." She smiled faintly. "I used to be one of those people." She ended the call gently, like closing a chapter, quietly, without the slam of finality. That evening, she found Nathan in the kitchen, chopping vegetables. His sleeves were rolled to his elbows, music playing low in the background. On the floor, Lily sat in a sea of crayons, drawing galaxies that defied borders. "You'll never guess what I turned down today," Evelyn said, leaning against the counter. Nathan didn't look up. "Another empire?" "Something like that." "Do you regret it?" She watched his hands move, deliberate, easy. "I thought I would. But no, I feel lighter." He set the knife down and finally met her gaze. "You used to carry your worth in titles. Now you carry it in peace." She gave a soft laugh. "Peace terrifies me more than boardrooms ever did, because peace is quiet, and in the quiet, you have to face yourself." She stepped closer, forehead resting lightly against his. "But I like who I'm facing." Later that night, wrapped in mismatched blankets and holding mugs of chamomile tea, they sat together on the porch beneath the stars. "I think I know what I want to build," Evelyn said. "Tell me," Nathan replied. "A foundation for women who leave high-power jobs, not because they failed, but because they finally chose to breathe. The world teaches you how to rise, how to grind, but no one teaches you how to exhale." Nathan nodded. "That's beautiful." She turned to him. "Will you help me?" "With the foundation?" he asked. She smiled. "With the exhaling?" "Both," he whispered. A week later, Evelyn and Lily strolled through a golden park, scarves tangled in the wind, laughter woven into the trees. "Do you love my daddy?" Lily asked between bites of grilled cheese. Evelyn blinked, caught off guard. "That's a big question." Lily shrugged. "I'm a big girl." Evelyn smiled. "Yes, I do. Very much." Lily beamed. "He loves you too." "Oh." Evelyn raised a brow. "Did he tell you that?" "He doesn't have to," Lily said with a wise little shrug. "I can tell by the way he looks at you. Like you're the story he always wanted to read." Evelyn blinked, her heart tightening. Children, she thought. They always know the truth before adults are brave enough to say it. That night, Nathan waited for her on the back porch. In his hands, a worn photograph. A little girl in a hospital bed clutching a stuffed bear. A younger Nathan sat beside her, exhausted but smiling. "She was 3, he said. The doctors said we might lose her that night. I sang to her until she fell asleep. I was terrified I couldn't fix it, that I'd fail her." Evelyn stepped closer, eyes on the photo. "You didn't fail her." "No," he said softly, "but I was alone, and I swore if we made it through, I'd never pretend to be invincible again." He looked at her. "I've never told anyone, not even her." Evelyn reached out, gently tracing the photo's edges. "We all wear armor, but the truest strength is knowing when to take it off." He searched her face. "You make me want to be soft again." She smiled through the ache. "You make me believe soft can still mean strong." They stood wrapped in silence and stars. Then Evelyn said, "I'm ready." Nathan blinked. "For what?" "For all of it. The uncertainty, the mess, burnt toast, mismatched socks, bedtime stories, quiet dinners you, her, us." He didn't answer with words. He kissed her like it was the beginning and the homecoming all at once. That night, Evelyn lay beneath a warm blanket, head resting against Nathan's chest, listening to the heartbeat of something she no longer had to chase. I used to think I had to own the world to matter, she whispered. And now, he asked, now I just want to belong to something real. He kissed the top of her head. You already do. Outside, snow began to fall, soft and steady, like a secret between two souls who had stopped running. It began not with a press release or a corporate acquisition, but with waffles, slightly overcooked, too much whipped cream, strawberries shaped like crooked hearts. Evelyn stood barefoot in Nathan's tiny kitchen, silk robe tied lazily, her hair still damp. She had never felt more like herself. Lily came bounding in, her superhero cape fluttering like joy on wings. Smells like Saturday, she declared. Nathan grinned. Correction. Smells like Evelyn's waffles. Fire extinguisher status, pending. Evelyn rolled her eyes. Mock me again, and it's oatmeal for a month. I love oatmeal, he replied. Liar. They laughed, messy, genuine, full. Later, coffee in hand, Evelyn stepped onto the porch. The sky above was winter blue stretched taut over the pines. She inhaled deeply, not with exhaustion, but with contentment. Inside, Nathan and Lily debated marshmallows versus whipped cream. For the first time in forever, Evelyn felt enough. That afternoon, she visited a small brick building downtown, the future home of her foundation. The paint still smelled fresh. The sign wasn't up yet, but she could see it in her heart. She walked slowly through the empty rooms, her fingers brushing the new walls. She saw it all, women seated in circles, single dads pitching dreams while holding toddlers, teen moms opening laptops, voices that had long been silenced now heard. Her assistant Carmen entered with a clipboard. The press wants to know if you'll do a ribbon cutting. Only if Lily gets to cut it, Evelyn said, smiling. You're different, Carmen said. Softer. I'm not softer, Evelyn replied. I'm just less armored. Same thing. Evelyn looked out the window. I used to think leadership meant walking alone. Now it means building a table and making room. She placed her hand on the center beam. This place isn't just about helping people start over. It's about helping them start right. That night, Evelyn returned to find the porch glowing with twinkling lights. Lily ran into her arms, cheeks pink. Where are you hiding? Evelyn asked. Lily pulled out a crumpled drawing, stick figures beneath a rainbow, Nathan, Lily, and Evelyn holding hands. I made this at school. We were supposed to draw our family. Evelyn stared. Her heart cracked wide open. You put me in the middle, she whispered. Yeah, Lily said simply, because you hold us together. Later, in the quiet of the backyard, wrapped in Nathan's coat, snowflakes brushing her lashes like blessings, Evelyn stood still. Nathan stepped behind her. I bought a ring today, he said, voice hushed. She turned. I didn't get down on one knee, he added, because I don't want to propose at you. I want to grow with you. When you're ready, no performance. No tradition. Just promise. She looked into his eyes. I don't need time, she said. I just needed you. Their wedding wasn't in a ballroom. It was in the backyard, beneath borrowed string lights and a canopy of pine. Lily played both flower girl and officiant. You may now kiss the bride, she declared, but only for 5 seconds. They laughed through their vows. There was no orchestra, no first dance, just chili in a slow cooker and neighbors from down the street. It was messy, joyful, gloriously human, and it was the most honest thing Evelyn Black had ever done. Months later, at a quiet press event, a journalist asked, Miss Black, what would you say is your proudest legacy? She looked out, then smiled slowly. My proudest legacy is knowing when to walk away from what I thought made me powerful and toward what actually made me whole. The audience clapped, but Lily, sitting in the front row, clapped the loudest. Nathan, behind the camera, smiled just as he had the night she first walked into his life, soaked in rain and unknowingly about to change everything. In the end, It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the mansion. It wasn't even the miracle. It was this, that two broken souls, each hiding behind their own invisible wounds, found the courage to be seen. That love, real love, gentle, present, patient, didn't demand perfection. It simply asked to be believed in. And when it was given room to breathe, it healed everything it touched. Even her, even him, even us. And that was the story of a single dad, a woman who had everything except peace, and the quiet kind of love that changed their lives forever. Wherever you are in the world, I hope this story reminded you of one simple truth. Quiet miracles are real, and they're worth waiting for. Thank you for listening. Until next time, stay kind, stay human, and never stop believing.